You were never taught how to feel. Not in school, not at home, not by the people who were supposed to show you that emotions are not enemies, they are signals. And now, decades later, you are walking through life with a broken compass. You do not cry when you need to. You do not rage when you deserve to. You do not even know what you want because wanting was dangerous once. So you learn to go numb. This is not your fault, but it is your reality. Emotional neglect does not leave bruises. It does not make headlines. It does not get diagnosed in a hospital, but it kills you slowly. It kills your ability to trust. It kills your capacity to connect. It kills the part of you that believes you were allowed to take up space in the world. And the worst part, you do not even see it happening. Because the wound is invisible. The scar is internal. The damage is written in the way you love, the way you work, the way you exist. You were a child once, and that child needed to be seen. Not just fed, not just kept safe. Seen, held, reflected back to themselves. But instead, you learned that your feelings were too much, or not enough, or irrelevant. So you built a system, a survival system. You became the child who did not complain, the teenager who stayed quiet, the adult who does not ask for help. And now you are here, functional, responsible, invisible. This is the architecture of emotional neglect. It does not scream, it whispers. It tells you that you are fine, that you do not need what other people need, that you are stronger because you can handle everything alone. But that is not strength. That is a coping mechanism, and it is costing you everything. You mistake independence for healing. Let me tell you what happened. When you were young, your emotional needs were met with silence, or dismissal, or distraction. Maybe your parents were not cruel. Maybe they were just absent. Physically there, but emotionally gone. Working, tired, depressed, overwhelmed. It does not matter why. What matters is that you learned early on that your inner world did not matter. That sadness was inconvenient. That anger was unacceptable. That fear was weakness. So you stopped showing them. You stopped showing anyone. And here is the trap. You got praised for it. You became the easy child. The one who did not cause problems. The one who figured it out on their own. Teachers loved you. Relatives admired you. Everyone said you were so mature for your age. But maturity is not supposed to happen at 7 years old. Maturity forced on a child is just trauma in disguise. So you learned to parent yourself. You became your own emotional regulator, your own source of comfort, your own everything. And that sounds empowering until you realize what it actually means. It means you never learned how to receive care. You never learned that other people can be safe. You never learned that vulnerability is not the same thing as danger. You are not self-sufficient. You are self-reliant to the point of self-destruction. Fast forward to now. You are an adult. You have a job, maybe a partner, maybe friends. From the outside, you look fine. But inside, you are running on fumes. Because you still operate from that childhood program. The one that says, do not need, do not ask, do not burden. So you give and give and give. You show up for everyone. You solve problems. You stay calm. You hold space. But when it is your turn to fall apart, you do not know how. You do not even know who to call. And when someone offers help, you say no automatically, reflexively, because accepting help feels like admitting defeat. It feels like proving that you are not capable. It feels like becoming the child you swore you would never be again. The needy one, the broken one, the one who could not handle it. So you push through. You ignore the exhaustion. You numb the loneliness. You tell yourself you are fine, and maybe you believe it, until your body starts speaking the language your mind refuses to. The migraines, the insomnia, the digestive issues, the chest tightness, the constant fatigue. Your body is screaming what your emotions are not allowed to say. I'm not okay. Emotional neglect does not end when childhood ends. It becomes your operating system. Here is what most people do not understand about emotional neglect. It is not about what happened to you. It is about what did not happen. It is the absence of attunement, the absence of emotional mirroring, the absence of someone saying, I see you, I hear you, what you feel matters. When a child expresses emotion and no one responds, the child does not just feel sad. The child learns a rule: emotions are pointless. They do not change anything. They do not bring comfort. They do not bring connection. So why have them? And that rule becomes your truth. You grow up, and you do not know how to name what you feel. You do not have the vocabulary. You were never taught the difference between anger and hurt, between fear and sadness, between loneliness and emptiness. So everything just becomes stress, or nothing. You feel nothing. And when people ask how you are, you say fine. Because fine is the only word you know. But fine is not a feeling. Fine is a wall. And behind that wall is a child who is still waiting. Waiting to be seen. Waiting to be told that what they feel is real. That it is valid. That it is allowed. But no one comes. So the child stays there, frozen. And you keep moving forward, building a life, achieving things, proving your worth. But the foundation is hollow, because you never learned that you are worthy just for existing. Not for what you do, not for how useful you are, not for how little you need. You are not hard to love. You are hard to reach. Let me tell you what happens in your relationships. You attract people who need you, because you are good at being needed. You are good at solving problems. You are good at staying calm when everything is falling apart. You are the rock. The stable one, the one who does not have breakdowns. And that feels good. It feels like purpose. It feels like love. But it is not love. It is a transaction. You give, they take, and you tell yourself that is enough. Because you were never taught that you were allowed to take too. You were never taught that relationships are supposed to be reciprocal, that your needs matter just as much as theirs. So you stay quiet. You do not complain. You do not ask for more. And when they do not notice that you are drowning, you do not blame them. You blame yourself for needing in the first place. And when you do find someone who wants to give to you, you panic. You do not know what to do with care. It feels uncomfortable. It feels unfamiliar. It feels like a trap. So you push them away, or you self-sabotage, or you convince yourself they do not really mean it. Because deep down, you do not believe you are worthy of being cared for. You believe care is something you earn, and no matter how much you do, it never feels like enough. So you end up alone, not because you want to be, but because alone feels safer. Alone does not require vulnerability. Alone does not require trust. Alone does not require you to risk being abandoned again. You are not avoiding intimacy. You are avoiding the possibility of being unseen again. Here is the thing about emotional neglect. It teaches you that you are invisible, not literally, but emotionally. Your thoughts do not matter. Your feelings do not matter. Your presence does not change anything. And when you grow up believing that, you do not just struggle with relationships. You struggle with existence. You do not take up space. You do not speak up in meetings. You do not share your ideas. You do not ask for what you want. Because you have internalized the belief that you are not important enough, that your voice does not carry weight, that people are tolerating you and choosing you. And the cruelest part, you become hyper-competent to compensate. You work harder than everyone else. You over-deliver. You anticipate needs before they are spoken. You become indispensable. Because if you are useful, you cannot be discarded. If you are valuable, you cannot be forgotten. But it does not work. Because no amount of achievement fills the void of not being loved for who you are. No promotion, no accolade, no recognition. None of it touches the part of you that just wants to be held. The part that wants someone to say, you do not have to be perfect. You do not have to perform. You are enough just as you are. But you have never heard that, so you do not believe it. Your silence is not strength. It is survival. Let me tell you what emotional neglect looks like in adulthood. It looks like the inability to cry even when you are breaking. It looks like laughing when you are hurt, because you do not know how else to respond. It looks like minimizing your pain, because you have learned that pain only matters if it is visible, and yours is not. It looks like saying yes when you mean no. It looks like apologizing for things that are not your fault. It looks like believing that your existence is a burden, that your needs are too much, that you are too much. It looks like isolating when you are struggling because you have learned that reaching out does not bring help. It brings judgment, or pity, or nothing, so you stay silent. You suffer alone. You tell yourself you are handling it, but you are not handling it. You are enduring it, and there is a difference. Handling means you have tools. You have support. You have a way through. Enduring means you are just surviving, just getting through the day, just waiting for it to pass. And that is not living. That is existing. And you deserve more than that. You were taught that love is conditional, so you made yourself perfect. Here is the core wound. Emotional neglect teaches you that love is something you earn. That affection is a reward for good behavior. That care is given to those who do not cause problems. So you became the child who did not cause problems, the adult who does not cause problems, the person who is always fine, always okay, always together. But you are not together. You are fragmented. You are a collection of roles and masks and performances. And underneath all of that is a person who has no idea who they actually are. Because you have spent your entire life being what other people needed you to be. You have never been given permission to just be. And now, when someone asks what you want, you freeze. Because you do not know. You have spent so long suppressing your desires that you do not even have access to them anymore. You do not know what brings you joy. You do not know what you are passionate about. You do not know what you need. Because needing was dangerous. Wanting was selfish. Feeling was weak. So you became empty. Not because there is nothing inside you, but because you have locked everything away. You have buried it so deep that you do not even remember where you put it. And now, you are searching. Searching for meaning. Searching for purpose. Searching for something to fill the void. But nothing works. Because the void is not a lack of something external. It is a lack of connection to yourself. You are not broken. You are disconnected. Let me tell you what happens when you grow up emotionally neglected. You develop a specific kind of hypervigilance, not the kind that scans for physical danger, the kind that scans for emotional rejection. You are always reading the room, always analyzing tone, always looking for signs that you are too much, or not enough, or unwanted. You become an expert at reading other people. You know what they need before they ask. You know when they are upset before they show it. You can sense the shift in energy, the change in mood, the subtle withdrawal, and you respond immediately. You adjust, you accommodate, you make yourself smaller, you make yourself easier, but you are so focused on everyone else that you lose track of yourself. You do not know what you feel, you do not know what you need, you do not know what you want. Because you have spent your entire life in a state of other orientation. Your existence is defined by how well you meet the needs of others. And when you are alone, you do not know who you are. This is not connection. This is codependency. And it is killing you. You mistake loneliness for independence. Here is what no one tells you about emotional neglect. It does not just affect your relationships. It affects your entire relationship with reality. You do not trust your perceptions. You do not trust your feelings. You do not trust your instincts. Because you were taught early on that what you feel is not real. That what you think is wrong. That what you sense is invalid. So you second guess everything. You doubt yourself constantly. You need external validation to know if you are right, if you are okay, if you are allowed to feel what you feel. And when that validation does not come, you assume you were wrong. You assume you overreacted. You assume you are the problem. And this becomes a cycle. You feel something. You question it. You dismiss it. You bury it. And then it comes back stronger, as anxiety, as depression, as physical pain, as self-sabotage. Because emotions do not disappear when you ignore them. They just find other ways to speak. And the longer you ignore them, the louder they get. You are not numb by choice. You are numb by design. Let me tell you what emotional neglect does to your nervous system. It puts you in a state of chronic shutdown. Your body learns that expressing distress does not bring relief. So it stops sending distress signals. It stops crying out for help. It stops trying. And instead, it just shuts down. You become someone who does not feel much of anything. Not joy, not sadness, not anger, not fear, just a low-level numbness that you mistake for calm. You think you are stable, you think you are balanced, but you are not. You are dissociated. You are disconnected from your own emotional experience. And that disconnection is not peace. It is absence. And the scary part, You do not even notice it happening. Because numbness feels safer than pain. Shutdown feels safer than overwhelm. So you stay there, in the gray zone, where nothing is too bad, but nothing is too good either. Where you are functional but not alive. Surviving but not thriving. And people tell you to practice gratitude, to think positive, to focus on the good, but you cannot access the good. Because you cannot access anything. You are too far removed from your own emotional experience to feel gratitude, to feel joy, to feel anything real. You are not cold. You are protecting a child who was never protected. Here's what I need you to understand. Every defense mechanism you have is there for a reason. Every wall you built was necessary. Every time you shut down, it was because staying open was too dangerous. You are not broken. You are adapted. You survived something that could have destroyed you. And the fact that you are here, reading this, means you did what you had to do. But survival strategies do not work forever. What kept you safe as a child is now keeping you stuck as an adult. The walls that protected you are now isolating you. The numbness that helped you endure is now preventing you from living. And at some point, you have to make a choice. Do you want to keep surviving, or do you want to start living? Because living requires feeling, and feeling requires risk. The risk that you will be hurt again, the risk that you will be rejected again, the risk that you will need something and not get it. And I know that feels terrifying, because it is. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is spending the rest of your life behind a wall, watching other people connect, watching other people feel, watching other people live, while you stay safe, and alone, and numb. You do not need to fix yourself. You need to find yourself. Let me tell you what healing looks like. It does not look like suddenly becoming emotional. It does not look like crying all the time or falling apart. It looks like slowly learning that you are allowed to have needs, that you are allowed to want things, that you are allowed to take up space. It looks like starting to notice when you are uncomfortable, when you are tired, when you are sad, and instead of pushing through, you pause. You ask yourself, what do I actually need right now? And at first, you will not know, because you have spent so long ignoring that question. But you keep asking, and slowly, answers start to come. I need rest. I need space. I need to say no. I need to cry. I need to be held. I need to be alone. I need to be seen. And then comes the harder part, actually giving yourself what you need, actually resting when you are tired, actually saying no when you want to, actually asking for help when you need it. And this will feel wrong. It will feel selfish. It will feel like you are failing. But you are not. You are learning. You are unlearning. Decades of conditioning. And that takes time. You are not too late. But you are running out of time to keep pretending you are fine. Here is the truth. Emotional neglect does not have an expiration date. It does not magically resolve when you turn 30, or 40, or 50. It stays with you until you turn around and face it. Until you acknowledge that something was missing, that you were hurt, that you deserved better, and that you still do. And facing it does not mean blaming your parents. It does not mean making yourself a victim. It means recognizing the impact. It means naming the wound. It means saying out loud, I was emotionally neglected. And it shaped how I see myself, how I relate to others, how I move through the world. And I do not want to live like this anymore. Because you do not have to. You do not have to keep performing. You do not have to keep proving your worth. You do not have to keep pretending you do not need what every human being needs. Connection, safety, attunement, love. You are allowed to want those things. You are allowed to grieve that you did not get them. And you are allowed to start giving them to yourself. Not as a replacement for human connection, but as a foundation. Because you cannot receive love if you do not believe you deserve it. And you cannot believe you deserve it if you have never given it to yourself. You are allowed to need. Let me tell you what happens when you start to heal. You start to feel things you have been avoiding for years. Anger at the people who did not see you. Sadness for the child who had to raise themselves. Grief for all the years you spent disconnected. And it is going to hurt. It is going to feel like you are falling apart. But you are not. You are falling together. You are integrating the parts of yourself that you had to split off to survive. And as you do, something shifts. You start to notice when you are pretending, when you are performing, when you are abandoning yourself to keep the peace. And instead of automatically doing it, you pause. You choose differently. You choose yourself. Not in a selfish way, in a self-preserving way, in a way that says, my needs matter too. And people will not like it. The people who benefited from your self-abandonment will feel threatened. They will call you selfish. They will say you have changed. And you have. You have stopped being who they needed you to be, and you have started being who you actually are. And that is terrifying. Because what if who you are is not enough? What if people leave? What if you end up alone? But here is the thing. You are already alone. You have been alone your whole life. Even in rooms full of people. Even in relationships. Even surrounded by family. Because no one has ever really seen you. They have seen the version of you that you perform. The version that is easy. The version that does not need. But that is not you. That is your armor. And when you take off the armor, yes, some people will leave. But the ones who stay will finally see you. And that is worth the risk. This is not a death sentence. This is a wake-up call. Emotional neglect becomes a lifelong death sentence only if you let it. Only if you keep running. Only if you keep pretending. Only if you keep believing that you are fine when you are not. But the moment you stop, the moment you turn around and face the wound, the moment you say, I was hurt, and I deserve to heal, that is the moment the sentence ends. You do not have to live like this. You do not have to keep carrying the weight of being unseen. You do not have to keep proving that you do not need what you need. You do not have to keep being the strong one, the stable one, the one who never falls apart. You are allowed to fall apart. You are allowed to need help. You are allowed to be messy and complicated and human. You were a child who needed to be seen, and you were not. That was not your fault. But you are an adult now, and you have a choice. You can keep waiting for someone to see you, or you can start seeing yourself. You can start giving yourself the attunement you never got, the validation you never received, the love you always deserved. And no, it will not erase what happened. It will not give you back your childhood, but it will give you something else. It will give you a future where you are not just surviving, where you are not just enduring, where you are actually living. Which truth hit the hardest? That your independence is actually isolation, that your calmness is actually shut down, or that you are still waiting for permission to need what you have always needed?